Welcome back to my channel. I am back with another review, so if you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell so that you know every time I upload a new video. Thank you so much to everybody who has subscribed to my channel. I appreciate you all, and let's just get right into this review. So let's talk about season 2 of The Perfect Match, and I have to say that so far, even though there's only been 6 episodes, this season is way more entertaining and more fun to watch than last season was. I just feel like this time around they have a way better cast. They have Tolu from The Trust, Steven from Too Hot to Handle, Brighton from Squid Game's The Challenge, Dominique from Too Hot to Handle, Micah from Love is Blind, Kaz from Dated and Related, Izzy from Love is Blind, Ellie's from Too Hot to Handle, Xanthi from The Circle, and Harry from Too Hot to Handle. And can we just say that Harry is already stirring the pot because he showed up this season and he was already talking about how he dated 3 girls from last season. And Harry also started laughing at the fact that the winners from last season, Georgia and Dom, did not last in a relationship together because she cheated on Dom with him. I don't know if that's true, but that's what he's saying, and I kind of believe him. And before everybody decides to try to make a match, they start playing this really fun dice game. And look, Izzy is already showing his insecurities, which is not a good thing for a show like this, in my opinion, because you have to have a sense of confidence to be able to go up to somebody and shoot your shot at them. And I feel like instead of Izzy focusing on trying to mingle and make a match, he was more worried about the way that he looked compared to the other guys. All the other guys were taller than him and younger than him, and obviously that was making him feel some type of way. Meanwhile, Harry doesn't have an issue with confidence at all, and he's going up to all the girls being very flirtatious and trying to make a match, which he's doing what he was supposed to be doing. However, his past always catches up to him. Literally all the girls on the show saw Harry as a huge walking red flag, and look, I agree, he's very attractive, he's tall, he's handsome, but at the end of the day, he is a red flag, and so you have to be careful if he's the one that you want to match with. I feel like Dominique was not really playing the game right because she immediately saw Brighton and she was attracted to him, and that's the only guy that she set her eyes on, and that's the only guy that she wanted to match with. And so she goes up to him basically immediately and tries to match up with him, and that proves to not really be a good idea later on. I just feel like you shouldn't put all your eggs in one basket on the first few days of a show like this. But as much as I feel like Dominique wasn't really playing the game right, I don't feel like Ellie's was playing the game right either, because she immediately went after Harry. Like, she ignored all the red flags and all the things that people were saying about him, and she ran straight towards him to try to match with him. And look, I feel like as soon as Harry told Ellie's that his type is usually a short, tan brunette, that she should have ran the other way, because she's the exact opposite of what he said that he liked. And as soon as a girl like that comes into the house, he's gonna diss her, which is exactly what ended up happening. Now, Izzy has no idea how to play the game right, because he ends up going up to Micah and trying to shoot his shot, and he starts telling her that he had a crush on her since he saw her on Love is Blind, and he's literally fanning out over her, and I think that that can be a turn off for some girls, and I feel like in this case it was definitely a turn off for Micah. And confidence is definitely something that a lot of women are attracted to, and it is very attractive to have a guy be very confident, and Izzy really doesn't have that. He seems very insecure when he was talking to Micah, and she said that he's a little bit too nerdy for her. She said that his nerdiness kind of reminds her of Paul from Love is Blind, and obviously that relationship didn't end well because she ended up getting left at the altar, so I can understand why she doesn't want to go in that direction again. So Izzy is unable to match with Micah, even though that was his first choice, and he ends up going up to Tolu, and because she thinks that he's really sweet and she doesn't mind that he's not as confident as some of the other guys are, she decides to match with him. And I honestly thought that they would be a good match for a little bit, because I feel like he was genuinely coming on the show to look for somebody. That's the way he portrayed himself as, is that he was genuinely looking for somebody, and I feel like Tolu is also one of the girls who are there to genuinely find somebody, so I liked seeing them match together. Micah completely dissed Izzy, and she went to talk to Kaz because obviously that's more of her type, and she ends up asking him if he wants to match, but instead of immediately saying yes to Micah, he decides that he's going to keep his options open and talk to some of the other girls too. And I think that he was playing the game the right way, because you don't want to match with the first person that comes up to you and says they want to match with you. You kind of want to play the field and see if there's somebody else that you can connect better with. And I honestly thought that Steven was going to match with Xanthi because they were flirting with each other during that whole dice game. I think he even sucked her toe during that game. So I definitely thought the two of them were going to match with each other. But Kaz was definitely interested in Xanthi. And so Kaz and Xanthi end up matching for the night. and Steven and Micah end up matching. I don't really see Steven and Micah as a match, so I thought that it was weird that the two of them matched up with each other. I think it's because they just wanted to be able to stay in the house. Now, for the first compatibility challenge of the season, they had these big cages hanging above water, and as a couple, you had to move your cage to the other side, and it was a tie at first between Harry and Ellie's and Dominique and Brighton, but Harry and Ellie's ended up winning, and I was not surprised because to me, they worked the best together and they had a better strategy. And because Brighton and Dominique lost the challenge, they kind of got into a little bit of a heated back and forth with each other, and Dominique started crying because she doesn't like the way that Brighton talks to her, and I don't really like the way he speaks to her either. He seems to get mad really quickly. Like the night before the compatibility challenge, him and Dominique got into this huge debate, and they would not shut up. Like it got borderline to the point where they were actually arguing instead of debating, and so I just don't understand why she decided to match with him. She was going by her attraction for him and not whether or not they were compatible. Now, Harry and Ellie's were the ones that got to go to the boardroom and put people on dates, and I'm glad that they ended up putting Dominique on a date with Chris because I feel like Dominique needed a date with somebody else because it's not really working out between her and Brighton. They just don't seem to get along, and there's a lack of respect with the two of them. And then Harry and Ellie's decide that they're going to try to break up Izzy and Toulouse, so they end up putting Toulouse on a date with Dom. But I didn't really agree with this choice because I feel like they should have put Micah on a date with Dom instead, because Micah and Steven weren't a match. They just matched up with each other because they didn't want to go home. So I feel like Micah was the one that should have got the date. Now, Tulum and Dom have a pretty good date. I don't really see the two of them as a match, but I think the date was good because Tulum deserves to find a match, so I don't think that it was a bad thing that they put her on a date. But then, Dominique goes on a date with Chris, and it's not the best date, but it went pretty well, and he's a lot nicer to Dominique than Brighton was. And Brighton was definitely feeling a little bit uneasy when Chris came home with Dominique because he doesn't know where he stands with Dominique, and really he doesn't want to go home. I don't think that he even saw Dominique as a match for him. I think he just wanted to stay on the show. But surprisingly, there was no tension between Harry and Dom, even though Harry said that he slept with Dom's ex while they were still together. The two of them claim that they're friends now. I don't think that they have a genuine friendship, but it is what it is. I was just surprised that there was no tension between the two of them. Now, Izzy once again tries to shoot his shot at Micah. I don't understand why he decided to do it again because it was very clear the last time he tried to that she was not interested in him at all. But he tries and she completely disses him. Like she's talking to him, but then she walks away to go talk to Kaz. And so now he decides that he's not going to try to pursue Micah anymore because he knows it's not going to go anywhere. But I do think in this case he was playing the game right, because if Toulouse decided not to pick him to match with, then he needed somebody else to match with, so he was doing what he was supposed to do. But Toulouse actually ends up picking Dom instead because she feels like they have more chemistry. I don't think that Toulouse should have picked to match with Dom. I think she should have stuck with Izzy for a little bit more because I don't feel like Dom's intentions are genuine. Now, I have to say in this episode, I liked the way that Micah, Steven, Kaz, and Xanthi were all communicating with each other because they realized that they weren't with the right person. And so instead of being sneaky and messy and going behind each other's back to match with the other person's partner, they decided to talk amongst each other and decide that they're all going to swap partners, and that's exactly what they ended up doing. And this time I think that there were better matches created. And Chris and Brighton end up getting into a really heated back and forth. Like I almost thought that they were going to fight because Chris ended up interrupting a conversation between Brighton and Dominique. And obviously it was kind of rude of Chris to just storm over there and interrupt their conversation, but I feel like Brighton needs to learn how to handle things a lot better, and that's the reason why Dominique decided that she was going to match with Chris instead. And so she ends up pairing up with Chris, and Brighton and Izzy end up getting sent home. And for the next compatibility challenge, they end up doing the kissing challenge again that they did last season. I'm not a fan of this challenge because do they get to wash their mouths off after they have each kiss, or do they just have to keep swapping spit with people one after another? I don't really like the idea of that. And then I just feel like even though they make them wear headphones and blindfolds, I still think they know who they're kissing. Like they know who has a beard and who doesn't, whose hair has what, who's dressed like what. Like I just feel like they know who they're kissing for the most part. And during this challenge, Kaz and Micah actually end up winning, and I think they won only because they knew who they were kissing at the time. Like I think Kaz knew he was kissing Micah, so he gave her a high score, and I think that Micah knew she was kissing Kaz, so she gave him a high score. But I was glad to see the two of them win because I definitely did not want Harry and Ellie's to win again. So now Micah and Kaz are the ones who get to go into the boardroom and put people on dates, and they definitely said that they wanted to split up Harry and Ellie's. Now, despite the fact that Micah and Ellie's are friends, Micah and Kaz decide that they're going to split up Harry and Ellie's, and they decide to put Harry on a date with Jessica. And look, they definitely put Harry on a date with Jessica on purpose because they knew that she was his exact type. Short, tan, and brunette, and that's exactly what Ellie's was afraid of. And the date between Harry and Jessica actually went really well. He was definitely into her, and I knew at that point that he was going to pick Jessica over Ellie's. That's why I didn't understand why Ellie's was keeping herself in a box with Harry, because I don't know why she believed that he wasn't going to wander off and go to anybody else. And Steven got put on a date with Alara, and you can tell that he was definitely attracted to Alara. She was definitely his type, and I really do feel like he liked her a little bit more than he liked Xanthi. So I will say that Micah and Kaz did a really good job with stirring the pot in this first boardroom meeting where they set people up on dates. The crazy thing about it is that when Jessica came back from her date with Harry, everybody saw that she was definitely his type, and all the girls pulled Jessica to the side and they start talking about how Harry is a huge red flag and that she needs to be careful for him. But she claims that on the date she didn't see any red flags. Maybe he can fool her like that, but he definitely is a walking red flag. But I do respect the fact that she's not just gonna jump to what everybody is saying about him. She wants to get to know him herself. There's always a chance for her to go ahead and match with somebody else. I just hope she doesn't get her feelings too invested in Harry just like Ellie's did. Because Chris decides that he wants to go try to mingle with Ellie's to try to see if they're a match, and instead of her giving it a chance, she was too stuck on Harry, and that was not a good idea at all. I definitely feel like she should have been venturing off and keeping her options open. Now, even though Dom and Talou had a really good date with each other, Dom made sure to tell Talou that he was keeping his options open because he doesn't want to do the same thing that he did last season. He feels like he was a little bit too loyal last season. I mean, and I can agree, I feel like he wasn't really playing the game the right way last season, but he ended up winning anyway. But this time around he wants to do something different, and because Dom is keeping his options open, I feel like Talou should be keeping her options open too, but she wasn't really doing that. And Alara ended up saying right in front of Talou that she was interested in Dom, and I think that Dom was interested in her as well. And that's why I don't think it's a good idea for Talou to put all her eggs in one basket, but she was doing that, and I don't understand why, because at some point if Dom had a choice, he was going to choose somebody else. Meanwhile, Jessica ends up going back and telling the girls that when she went on the date with Harry, he said that him and Ellie's were more like friends, and the girls were completely shocked by this because they saw something completely different. They saw Harry all over Ellie's. The two of them worked so well together. They communicated well, and you really couldn't pry them apart from each other. And now Harry's downplaying his relationship with Ellie's to Jessica. And that's extremely messy, and you can tell that Jessica felt like it was a red flag. However, she has to play the game the way that she wants to play it, and if she wants to stay in the house and Harry is the only one that wants to match with her, that's exactly what she's gonna do. But the girls end up going back and telling Ellie's what Jessica said Harry said about him and Ellie's being more like friends, and Ellie's was upset about this. Like, she was completely upset about this, and so she decided that she was going to confront Harry, and she starts telling him that he's made her feel some type of way since he came back from his date with Jessica, because he's basically been avoiding her the whole night, and that's why she should have been trying to keep her options open. She should have been trying to talk to other people, because it's literally just the second week of the show and she's sitting over there already putting all her eggs in one basket with Harry, and he's sitting there telling her that he feels like their relationship is not progressing and that he wants to explore things with Jessica. And obviously Ellie's is hurt by this, because I honestly feel like Harry shouldn't have been so locked in with Ellie's in the first place. He should have already told her that if somebody comes into the house that he's attracted to, he's going to try to explore that connection. And I feel like had he would have said that to Ellie, she wouldn't feel so blindsided at this point. But she also should have been playing the game the right way as well, instead of just putting all her eggs in one basket with Harry. I don't like the way that Harry couldn't keep a straight face during this conversation with Ellie's though, because you can tell that she was really hurt and that she really liked him, and now she feels betrayed by him. He was laughing and wasn't really taking it seriously, and that should have told her everything that she needed to know. So she walks away crying, and Harry ends up matching with Jessica. So Chris ends up matching with Ellie's, and I feel like Ellie's only matched with Chris because she doesn't want to get sent home, and at this point she wants revenge on Harry. Now, despite the fact that Dom had a really good date with Talou, he's talking to Alara and they're really hitting it off. Not only are they each other's types, so they're physically attracted to each other, but they both have similar interests, and they were bonding over their love for Harry Potter. So I definitely felt like they could have matched with each other. However, Steven wanted to match with Alara because he really likes her. And I like that he handled things the proper way. He did things the way that Harry should have done it with Ellie's, where Steven ended up going up to Xanthi and letting her know that even though he really likes her, he wants to go see if he has a connection with Alora. And if the connection doesn't work out, then him and Xanthi can get back together and connect again. But I like that he was open and honest with Xanthi so that she wouldn't feel blindsided. I feel like that's the way that you do things. And Steven was smart because Dom was dumb. Dom really wanted to match with Alora, but he said that he didn't want to hurt Talu's feelings, so he was hesitant to say yes to matching with Alora. So Steven ends up going up to Alora and telling her that he wants to match with her. He even gives her a kiss, and so she decides to match with Steven. So Dom is upset because he missed out on his match, and that's the reason why he's not playing the game right, because he should have told her, yes, I want to match with you, and he could have went to Talu and told her that even though they had a good date, he wants to try to form a connection with somebody else. So because Dom wants to stay in the house, he ends up matching with Talu, even though he's not interested in her, which I don't really think is right. And then he ended up saying in his confessional that the next time it's time to match up with somebody, he's shooting his shot at Alora. So because Xanthi and Dominique did not have a match, the two of them ended up getting sent home, which I was not surprised about. I completely expected these two to be the ones that got sent home. And the next day, Harry was extremely surprised to see Ellie still in the house because he thought that she was going to go home. And I think that's what he wanted because he didn't want the awkwardness. But Ellie's is on the warpath when it comes to Harry because she wants revenge on him so bad that she was really striving to try to win this compatibility challenge because she wanted to split up Harry and Jessica. So this next compatibility challenge was a fun fact challenge. You had to hear the fun fact and then guess who it belongs to. And look, I think this game was fun, but I don't like the way that they conducted it because I don't feel like it was in a fair way. I feel like whenever somebody got the answer wrong, they should have gotten a strike and then they could get eliminated once they hit 5 strikes, and they did it a different type of way. They made it to where people can just put their strike on whatever couple they want to, and I don't think they should have done it that way. And even though Ellie's was trying really hard to win to split up Harry and Jessica, she did not end up winning because Dom and Talu actually ended up being the winners, which I was not surprised about. And so they get to go on a really fun date with each other. Now they went on a really cute cooking date together. You could tell that Talu was more interested in Dom than he was in her. Like, you could really tell during this date that she liked him a lot more. She kept gushing about her feelings for him and how great their first date was, and he wasn't really saying the same. So when Dom and Talu end up going into the boardroom to set up dates, Dom lets her know that she should match herself up with somebody else to go on a date with. And she was really upset about this because she feels like he led her on. Now, I know when it comes to editing, they chop things up so you don't get to see everything that's said and done. But their first date, like their first initial meetup, I didn't think that there was as many sparks as she was trying to make it out to be. I think she was more attracted to him than he was to her, and that's the reason why she got in her mind that they could be something. But I really do think that it was good that he told her to set herself up on a date with somebody else. That way she could still have a chance to meet a match. But I can understand why she was upset too, because she felt a little bit played by it, and she probably felt blindsided because she probably didn't think that this was going to end up happening. But I don't feel like Talu really had to worry about Dom too much because Chris was back at the house telling the other people that he was really interested in shooting his shot at Talu, which I was kind of surprised about because I hadn't heard him say that he was interested in Talu before. But I like that he said that he was interested in Talu, and I was hoping that he was going to shoot his shot at her because I think they would actually be a really good match. But my favorite couple so far right now is Alora and Steven because I just think they look good together, they work well together, they communicate really well, and you can tell that Steven is really putting in the effort to be with Alora. He cooked her up this really nice meal and set up this really cute date at the house, and I thought that that was really sweet. And you can tell that Alora is starting to really like Steven because he's really proving himself. Now, Dom ends up coming back to the house by himself, and he lets everybody know that Talu went on a date, and then also Ellie's is going to be going on a date. And Ellie's was excited about this because she doesn't really have a match anymore, and then on top of that, she wants to get back at Harry. And I understand her wanting to get back at Harry for hurting her, but at the same time, I feel like she's making her whole existence in the house about Harry, and that shows me that she's not over him. Talu ends up going on a date with Jake from The Ultimatum. He's definitely very attractive, and I think that they had a really good date with each other, but I really didn't see any sparks, and I didn't think that it was going to go anywhere between the two of them. However, Justin and Ellie's had a really good date, and there was a lot of chemistry and attraction between the two of them, and I think that they look really good together. But Micah is keeping her options open too, despite what she's telling Kaz, because as soon as Justin ended up walking into the house, she started talking about how attractive she thought he was. And I think at some point she's going to try to shoot her shot at him, but I really do not know. But I think that him and Micah actually look good together. But everybody is in the house hanging out, and they decide that they're going to play a game of Truth or Dare. And this was actually a really fun game of Truth or Dare to watch. They were having such a good time, and I enjoyed watching it. And this is where Chris decides to shoot his shot at Tallulah. And I think that she was surprised about it because she didn't know that he was interested in her. He ended up giving her a lap dance, and then the two of them ended up kissing. They were having a lot of fun together, and I see the chemistry, and I actually like them together. But Jake definitely ends up feeling threatened by this because he thought that he had it in the bag, that he was going to be able to stay in the house because Tallulah was going to pick to match with him. And now he sees that Chris is trying to match with Tallulah, so now he doesn't know where he stands. So he starts walking around trying to keep his options open, which is exactly what he was supposed to do. But he tries to shoot his shot at Alora, and she's really heavy on Steven right now, and I like them together. So I was glad that she didn't end up going for Jake, but Jake had to try to find somebody else to go for because it was not going to work out with Alora. So Jake tries to shoot his shot at Micah, and it doesn't really work out because she's interested in Justin even though she's matched up with Kaz. And she goes to have a one-on-one conversation with Justin, and the conversation was going well. The two of them have a vibe with each other, and I think that they have a lot of chemistry, and she was definitely very attracted to him. I think they look good together, but I do think that it's a little bit messy that she's doing this behind Kaz's back because for the most part, she makes it seem like all she wants to do is be with Kaz and that she doesn't want anybody else, but yet she's keeping her options open with some of the other guys in the house. And Elise gets really upset when she sees Micah flirting with Justin because that was supposed to be her match. And then on top of that, she's still upset with Micah for bringing Jessica in the house because Jessica is exactly Harry's type. But I don't think that she should be mad at Micah about that because if any girl can just walk into the house, that's his type, and that can make him not want to be with you anymore. You shouldn't want to be with him anyway. So I was confused as to why she was so upset that Jessica was brought into the house because had Micah and Kaz not set Harry up with Jessica, at some point Jessica was going to end up coming into the house and Harry would have been attracted to her either way. And at this point, Elise is on the warpath for anybody she feels like did her wrong in the house, which is Harry and Micah. So she ends up going up to Kaz and trying to shoot her shot at him so that they can match up and she can get back at Micah. But he really wasn't about to do that, so he ended up going up to Micah and having a conversation with her, and the two of them end up matching again. I think it's crazy, though, that he didn't at least try to keep his options open with Elise, because at the end of the day, Micah was just over there flirting with Justin that he doesn't know about, so I just feel like he should have kept his options open a little bit more. Dom was too late with trying to match up with Alora because he tries to have a one-on-one conversation with her and he ends up asking her to match up. And she does want to match with him because she is interested. She thinks that he's cute and she feels like they have a lot in common. However, her feelings for Steven have grown because of the way that he's been treating her, and she can tell that he really does like her and she thinks that he's genuine, whereas with Dom, she doesn't know if he's actually genuine or if he just wants to stay in the house. So she decides to match up again with Steven. So then out of desperation, Dom tries to match up with Elise, but Elise realizes quickly that Dom doesn't really see her as a match and she's not his type. He just wants to try to match with her so that he can stay in the house, and she doesn't fall for it, and she ends up deciding to match with Justin. And I'm glad about that because she does not need to let another guy try to play her in the house, so I'm glad that she matched with Justin and she didn't fall for Dom's games. And because Chris let Tallulah know that he was interested in her, she likes him now too, so the two of them decide that they're gonna match up with each other. So Jake ends up getting sent home as well, along with Dom, because he doesn't have a match. I like that, it was a slow burn between Chris and Tallulah because they really didn't pay too much attention to each other, and I feel like their feelings for each other started to grow. So I actually like the two of them, and I'm going to keep an eye on them because I'm interested to see how things grow between the two of them. But something also happened in this episode that I almost forgot to mention, and it had to do with Jessica, Harry, and Dom, because Dom was going off at some point because nobody was trying to match with him, and he was saying that he was trying to do things differently than he did the previous seasons of the show. And so Harry basically asked him if he was on the show to really find somebody, and that's when Dom implied that Harry shouldn't be questioning him about whether he's on the show for genuine reasons, because Harry's not even on the show for genuine reasons. And this ends up rubbing Jessica the wrong way, and rightfully so, because it's one thing for the girls to say that Harry can't be trusted and he's a walking red flag, flag, but it's another thing for somebody who's actually friends with him to say that same thing that the girls are saying. So now Jessica is questioning her decision to match up with Harry. I don't think that she should be questioning herself for matching with him, but I think that she needs to keep her options open and not get her feelings wrapped up in Harry, because Harry does have a history of playing games with people and being a player, and I feel like if she doesn't want to get played, then she needs to play the game the right way. And Harry starts crying because he feels like his past is always catching up to him and everybody's always judging him. And look, I understand that he doesn't want people to judge him for things that he's done in the past. However, he hasn't really proved that he's changed either. So that's the reason why people are saying that he's a red flag. If he doesn't want to be known as a red flag, then he should learn from his mistakes and not do them again. So I couldn't tell if he was being genuine when he was crying or not. Honestly, I feel like Jessica is blinded by the fact that she's very attracted to Harry, and he is an attractive guy. I'm not gonna lie, he's tall, he has an accent, he has facial hair, like he is an attractive guy, but you can't allow yourself to get blinded by that. So the next day, Jessica ends up apologizing to Harry for judging him for the things that other people are saying. And look, I like Jessica from what I've seen on Love is Blind, so I'm not going to judge her for being with Harry and giving him a chance. However, the second that he shows her that he's a red flag, I hope that she walks away, because then I will start to judge her if she does not. But it's time for the next compatibility challenge, and this compatibility challenge means that they have to work together to get these colored balls from the water. They can't use their hands to carry the balls, but they have to carry the balls from the water together and put them in their basket. Whoever fills it up first ends up winning. And Alora and Steven end up winning this challenge, and I wasn't surprised about that either, because they seem to communicate the best out of everybody else, and the two of them really work together well. So I wasn't surprised that they ended up winning, and they ended up going on a really cute date. And I enjoy watching this couple grow together, because I feel like out of all the other couples this season so far, I feel like they have the most genuine connection out of everybody. Now, Alora and Steven end up going to the boardroom and putting people on dates, and I didn't agree with them putting Chris on a date with Melinda, because him and Talou just got together because they just expressed interest in one another, and so I didn't think that it was right that they were so quick to try to split them up. However, Chris knows who Melinda is, and he is attracted to her. He did say that he had a crush on her before, so there was a lot of chemistry and sexual tension on their date. So I really didn't know if he was going to choose Melinda or Talou in this episode. But I was all for them putting Kaz on a date with Holly, because I feel like Micah and Kaz have been together since the second day, and I feel like the two of them need to go on dates with other people to see if they really have a genuine connection, because if somebody else comes into the house and they're able to break the two of them up, then they should be happy that that happened, so that they can actually try to make a match with somebody they're more compatible with. And I mean, Kaz was definitely very attracted to Holly, and they were very touchy-feely on their date, partially because that's what the date entailed. But he was just really all over Holly during this date, and I know Micah was not going to be happy about it. And Micah was definitely concerned that, you know, he was going to be too interested in his date. So she decided to dress up in this pretty sparkly dress, and she looked really cute, okay? But when Holly walked into the house with Kaz, she was wearing basically a sexier version of the outfit that Micah had on. So that had to be extremely uncomfortable. When Holly walked in, Harry said in his confessional that he already knows Holly because he slept with her before, and he said that Steven also slept with Holly, so that's extremely awkward. I mean, at this point, who hasn't Harry slept with from Netflix? Like, at this point, any girl they bring in the house, is Harry gonna say that he slept with her? It's just crazy. But Steven ends up pulling Kaz to the side and letting him know that the reason why he decided to set him up on a date with Holly is because every time he sees Kaz with Micah, he doesn't seem happy or outgoing. He's more quiet and reserved, and he wants him to have a good time, and that's the reason why he did that. But I just feel like if Kaz feels like Micah is not fun and she's sucking the life out of him, then he needs to walk away and go be with somebody else, and he can tell her that that's the reason why he wants to explore things with other people. All they have to be is open and honest with each other. Now, at this point, Chris ends up pulling Talou to the side, and she was honestly really nervous because she knows that Melinda is his type, and she knew that he was attracted to her, and so she didn't know if he was going to pick to be with her or if he was going to pick to be with Melinda, and at this point, she was thinking that it was going to be Melinda, and Chris was honest with Talou, and I love that. He told Talou that he was very attracted to Melinda, and there was a lot of sexual tension on their date, and that he did have a crush on her in the past. However, he felt a stronger connection with Talou, and he wanted to explore that that more. And she was really happy, and I was happy for them because I actually feel like they have a genuine connection, and I feel like they genuinely like each other, and I want to see them grow together. So I'm interested in seeing how things happen between the two of them this season. But Micah was extremely insecure in this episode about Kaz's date with Holly because she ends up pulling Holly to the side and starts questioning her about their date. And basically Holly was honest and said that Kaz was all over her, partially because that's what the date entails, but also that he was very invested in the date and what they had to do for the date, and that he said continuously that she was his type. And now Micah is pissed off because I guess when she talked to Kaz, he didn't say that, Holly was his type. He said that she was a type. And so now she's finding out that Holly is actually his type. So now she's upset. So her and Kaz had a back and forth. I don't know who Kaz is going to pick, but if I had to choose, I would say that he's going to stick with Micah. So that's my little recap and my thoughts on the first 6 episodes of this new season of The Perfect Match. Let me know what you thought about these 6 episodes so far down in the comment section. Don't forget to hit that like button for me. I appreciate it. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more videos and hit the notification bell so that you know every time I upload a new video. Thank you so much to everybody who has subscribed to my channel. I appreciate you all, and until next time, I will talk to you guys in my next video.